start this look off with a foundation. I'm going to use something that's got kind of like a semi-satiny finish. And for this look, I'll be using the Makeup Forever HD foundations, one of my favorites. I'm applying this foundation with my favorite e.l.f. buffer brush. And this is going all over my face for a full coverage. Aaliyah definitely has a nice full coverage look on this album art. So we're going to be achieving that with this foundation. Just going to dab a bit of that onto my eyelids. Aaliyah's brows in this album art look were a little bit fuller than you're used to seeing, and they were also a bit rounder. So I'm going to do my best to try to achieve something kind of similar. And I'm using the MAC Brow Crayon in Spiked, by the way. So I'm definitely rounding out that arch. And then I'm going to darken them a bit. So that looks as good as it gets. If I make them any thicker, it's just not going to look authentic for my brow shape. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in my other brow. After those brows are filled in, I'm using my brow brush to just brush out any harsh lines that the pencil may have created. This step will vary based on whatever method you use for your brows. I just like a bit more of a fluidity in my brows, and I know that pencil can be a little bit harsh for a lot of you guys, so using a brush definitely will fill in and make them look a bit more natural if that's the look you're going for. Using my Studio Finish concealer in NW40 and a 249 concealer brush, I'm going to sculpt out those brows to not only make them more rounder, but her brows in the photo look sculpted to me, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same. This is going to help me round out the brows a bit more. It's also going to clean up any mistakes you might have made. And if you haven't already noticed, I'm using NW40 because it's a bit lighter than my skin tone, so it's going to be a highlight color. Since she doesn't really have a lot of shadow, we're going to be working with our cream products and concealers and stuff like that to get the highlight that we need, because she doesn't really look like she's wearing too much shadow or anything like that in the look. Next in this look, Aaliyah's got a really heavy eye-lined eye, so I'm using my Black Track from MAC, which is just a regular gel liner. Even though I don't use Black Track a lot, I chose to use Black Track because in the look the liner's got kind of like a satiny finish where it's not matte and it's not exactly super shiny either. So the liner is super thick, super heavy, more concentrated on the center of the lid, and then somewhat wings out. It might not even wing out. I have to look at the pictures again, but I'm gonna go ahead and use my Black Track. Before I apply that liner, I'm just gonna put a dab of concealer on my lids just so that we don't have that darkness there, and just to kind of even it out, because there's still gonna be some eye left over, some space for a little bit more shadow that we're gonna need to cover. And then I'm just going to begin applying this liner. I'm going to stop it just on my outer corner. I'm not going to wing it out too much because I don't see much of a wing in the art, so barely extending past my eye, so it's going to look like that. Also, don't forget to line the innermost corner of your eye because we're going to be dragging that down shortly after I finish my concealer and all those products. I then took my Studio Finish concealer in NW40 and I'm applying that on my bottom underneath my eye. And I'm also applying it quite high up to lift as well as highlight. I'm going to take that concealer brush I used earlier with the concealer and just trace along that eyeliner at the bottom so we get a sharper edge and an overall cleaner look. And then all of that's going to be blended out with a damp beauty blender sponge. On top of that, I decided to use my MAC Select Cover Up Concealer to highlight a bit more and to get more wearability out of that concealer. It will also help it last longer too. So we're just pretty much doubling up. And then I'm going to apply down the bridge of my nose into my forehead, because again, Aaliyah's look is very highlighted, but it doesn't look like she's wearing a lot of powder product. So we've got to do all the highlighting with cream. I'm going to set all of those concealer products with my Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. I'm applying this under my eyes first, all the way up well into my temples, and then down the bridge of my nose and my forehead. And I'm just being sure to press that into the skin, and then I'm going to brush off the excess with a large powder brush. I'm now applying a powder. This is the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish, and we need to take away some of that white we've got going on. So I'm just pressing that onto my skin to get a nice fresh glow that Aaliyah's got in this look. And just apply as much as necessary, or use your own powder of choice. I'm going to take my L'Oreal High Intensity Pigment Eye Duo in Roaring, and basically using that cocoa color there, I'm applying that shadow just in the crease of my eyelid, and only in the crease. I'm going to use my MAC Chromographic Pencil in NW25 for that creamy white inside waterline look Aaliyah has going on, and I'm going to just line the inner rim of my eyes. Then I'm going to finish up that liner by just adding a little bit more black track to my brush and lining along my bottom lash line. Very carefully. And then adding one small line going downwards. I actually cannot do that line to save my life, so I'm just going to trace around it with concealer just to straighten it out. But it should pretty much look like that. Can never get that right, ever. Next, add mascara. I'm using Maybelline's Lash Stiletto. I'm going to apply Red Cherry number 5 lashes, because she's definitely wearing lashes in this look. I'm now going to contour with a bronzer from CoverGirl Queen Collection. Really going for a glow with this one. I added Copper Tone blush from MAC, or basically anything that is peach, which is probably my favorite blush of all time. Get carried away. Get carried away with Copper Tone, girl. I'm lining my lips with a soft brown liner. Ah, my lips are so dry. Goodness. And added faux lipstick from MAC. Just a bit, because her lips were kind of natural looking. And that, ladies, is the final look.